How's it going? It's April 17th, it's a Tuesday. Girls got tea. Girl had brownies. I made a whole batch of brownies for myself and ate them all. So yeah, it's been a pretty good day. I've never done a Q&A video before, but luckily you guys have submitted between you 75 Qs for me to A. So yeah, if I'm babbling and taking a long time on each, I'll chop this video in half to make it more of a manageable watch for you guys. But I am looking forward to this. I like to talk. I've made a point of not looking at any of these beforehand, and I promise to answer each with ruthless honesty. So let's go. Izzy says, any more info about your elusive good news coming soon video descriptions as of late? Well, Izzy, I'm glad you asked. Yes, I am releasing a single, the first official release in 3 years, believe it or not. It's a song called I Go Crazy, and it's coming out on May 2nd. I'm going to tell the rest of the internet on May 1st. So yeah, let this be a mini announcement and let's start a pressure cooker of internal hype. Yeah, it's a song called I Go Crazy. What else can I tell you? Some of you have heard it, some of you haven't, but I'll make sure to upload a little snippet soon for those who haven't. And the last few months has been just so much getting it all ready behind the scenes. I'm going to have a music video, which is going to be back to me soon. I've got a live session doing 2 shows in May where I'm obviously going to be playing the song. I did a So Far session, acoustic version of it. All this has just been happening, and what I really wanted to do this time was just to get it all ready in advance and have it all kind of ready to roll out. So hence the very vague hype. But yes, May 2nd, there's a single. I'm terrified, but I'm actually more excited than I have ever been to release anything because I'm very proud of it. So yeah, there you go. Faith says, where is the avocado uke? Faith, hey Faith. Faith is one of the OG original supporters. She has been around for many years and she's so fantastic. And the honest answer to this question, I hate to say it and I hate to think it, but I don't know. Faith and a couple of other people, for some context, got me, they came together and got me a gift. It was an avocado-shaped ukulele. It was a few years ago, and it was given to me while I was on tour. It was so cool. There's a picture of me with it that I have on my computer, and it was just like the most thoughtful, funny, cool gift I've gotten to date. It just so happened that when I did get it, I was living in about 5 different places. I hadn't moved to London properly, but I also wasn't really at home. I was like staying with friends. There was a lot of couches, and I specifically remember straight after the tour saying I'm going to put it in a safe place so that it doesn't end up with the rest of my stuff, because I was travelling around with these 2 big wheelie bags all the time. And in classic fashion, in hindsight, I can't remember where that safe place was. I think it's in one of 3 places, one of them being my attic at home. I know it hasn't been thrown out, I'm not sure where it is. And I've been scared to tell you that for a long time because it's the most thoughtful gift I've ever had. And what have I done? I've gone and lost it. So I feel terrible. I'm going to check these places, I think. It might be in. And if I can't find it, I will make it up to you somehow, I promise. I'm so sorry. Aaron Fahy, how do you overcome a creative block? Oh, hey Aaron. Do you have certain ways of keeping yourself motivated? Not really. I if you figure this out, please let me know. Yeah, I think my creativity, like everyone's, just comes in waves. I have like months where I write constantly. I have blocks of 2 or 3 months where nothing comes out. Yeah, I don't think I've nailed that one yet, I'm afraid. What was the first single or was the first album or single you ever bought or remember buying? Mine was Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory. That is so much cooler than mine. The first single I remember buying was a Busted song. I don't know if you guys remember Busted. I don't know if they were big in the States, very much a UK, Europe thing, maybe. There were 3 guys. I thought one of them was really fit. His name was Charlie. He had these really bushy eyebrows, and I had like loads of t-shirts with his face on it, and I would like scribble the other 2 guys out. I just loved him. And yeah, they had a song called Year 3000, and I remember buying it on single, which is so weird to think. You could buy one song on a disc. Imagine doing that now. It was like a $5 or something, and you just paid it for one song and then maybe a B-side. The mind boggles. If your original songs were... I can see this says 7 likes, so I already like it. Erin says, if your original songs were biscuit types, what would they each be? If your original songs were biscuit types, what would they each be? Am I meant to go through each song? Why am I being stupid? If your original songs were biscuit types, what would they each be? I'm struggling with this one, Erin. Biscuit types is what? Is that like chocolatey biscuits, non-chocolatey? You're gonna have to rephrase that one for me. Biscuit types. No, I still can't get it. Let's pick one that I feel, let's say Stranger, is kind of fun melodically and rhythmically, but sad lyrically, which is a lot of my songs. So let's say something like one of those, I don't know what they're called. Something that's crunchy on the outside but soft on the inside. Whatever. Jamie, flying over to Dublin to see you at the end of May, but want to make sure, I want to make the most of my trip over there. What are some things that you have to do? Oh my god, you are so amazing. Well, first of all, you're going to have a great time, so I'm very excited for you. Things to do. You'll be there at a very good time of year, so make sure you walk around Stephen's Green and Grafton Street and Temple Bar. It's quite touristy, but it is quite fun. The Guinness factory is actually really good. Whelan's, where the show is actually on, the kind of main pub bit. The venue's upstairs, but the pub bit is just like a really nice place to go in the evenings for a drink. It could be a drink of anything. It's just a lovely atmosphere. And shoot, I'll have a think of some more things. But yeah, Whelan's, where the show's on, good spot to go. Phoenix Park is good if you want to get out of the city centre. I'm not sure how long you were there for, but that's just like a really nice, it's like Richmond Park. They're like, it's lovely. Cool. Do you have any tips on not feeling self-conscious when singing? I really hope that I can come down to uni for your London gig. Oh, thank you. Do you have any tips on not feeling self-conscious? I feel this is another one that I don't think I have cracked. I'm still self-conscious when I watch myself back, but in the moment, not so much. I don't know why that is. I'm more self-conscious about the faces that I pull than my actual voice, which is kind of stupid. But not stupid enough for me to stop making them. I don't think it's ever a case of like stopping being self-conscious and more just like stopping caring. And I probably got to the point where I like still care a little bit, but about what I look like when I perform. But that's not what you mean. Not feeling self-conscious when singing. I guess you just have to try, like with anything that you do when you're performing anything or even speaking to people, you just have to try and get out of your own head and try to be as present and in your own body as possible, because the self-consciousness in anything that you do, including singing, will just come from when you try and embody someone else and look at yourself from the outside in, which, if you try and do, whatever you think of yourself will be totally skewed and not at all what other people actually think. So just try and be kind to yourself and try and focus on the task in hand, whether it's singing a song or public speaking or playing guitar, whatever it is. Just try and be as present in the actual thing rather than trying to watch yourself from the outside, if possible. But like I said, I don't really feel I've cracked that yet myself. What was the most impactful part of your career? A certain opportunity, a song you wrote, person you met? That's a really good question. It's impactful in a very, maybe not in an opportunistic way, but in a very, emotional way. There is a girl called Kate McGill who is a fantastic musician, songwriter, artist, and she was one of the original YouTube singer-songwriters. She filmed herself singing in her bedroom and her bathroom, like way before people like me came along, and she had loads of attention, and I was like such a super fan, like you have no idea. She had a show in Dublin and I bought tickets. It was like a matinee show. The doors are at 2. They sometimes do that in Dublin for all ages gigs, and I was probably 15 at the time, and I bought a ticket, and I actually ended up through a guy who had produced Kate's album, who later went on to manage me. He's the first manager that I ever had. Bad times. Although he didn't turn out great, me working with him was because he had worked with her. That was like his selling point, is that he was like, I've worked with Kate McGill, and I was like, I love her with all of my heart. And through him I managed to get a writing session with her, which was my first ever writing session. And I remember sitting on her bed, and it was just so nice. It was so kind of pure, and yeah, I just remember really, really loving it. And because of Kate, I ended up working with that manager that I just mentioned, and through that manager I ended up really moving to London, because I had no other links with the UK apart from a few people that I knew, like Lauren and the Hudson Taylor boys, who had already moved over here. But I never ever would have made the leap to move over here unless I'd had some like significant musical tie to the city, and this manager guy was my tie. So, but I never ever would have ended up working with him if he hadn't worked with Kate McGill. And Kate is still fantastic. She's now in a band called Meadowlark, who are really, really good. And that was another thing I really respected her for a few years later. She put her solo music aside and started a duo because she wasn't happy doing it. She just wasn't happy, so she made a change. And I really respect people that do that. So probably meeting Kate McGill, or just knowing Kate McGill, was just weirdly impactful. Steve says, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? Real question. With whom would you most like to perform, excluding everyone you already have? Why? Probably Regina Spektor. She's like the influence and the artist that I constantly come back to, and I think through the years, though the music that I want to make has changed as it does, she has become this kind of she's just a constant reference. It's like when I wanted to do really folky narrative stuff, she was a reference, and then I wanted to do more like poppy, quirky, upbeat stuff, and she was still a reference. And I was like, wow, like that's such an amazing thing to cross over in those worlds, but still just have this kind of core person to look up to. Why did you stop playing the uke? I never stopped playing the uke. Oh, I've got one over there. But I fell out of love with the uke. I like what you can do with guitar a bit more. I liked that you could apply effects. I love reverb. I love all this stuff that you can put on electric guitar. It just changes the tone completely. And for a long time I thought that you could only play happy songs on the ukulele and that all sad songs sounded happy, which I actually don't think is true anymore. But that's kind of why I stopped for a while, because I was like, oh, everything sounds so twee. But through Dodie I started playing the baritone uke, which is kind of a nice midpoint between guitar and uke, and actually I did sort of fall in love with it all over again. But I'd never really seen it being a huge part of my own music. It's just I don't really connect with it as much for some reason. How's your brain? Says Sophie. That's such a nice question. Ow, shit. So no one ever asked me how I am. My brain is good. Generally good. For the last 2 months I have felt, I think, the most content and confident in my own skin as I probably ever have. It's kind of why I wanted to I got this tattoo when I was on tour, which is just like this little thing, and I wanted it to be a positive thing. I wanted it to be like everything's gonna be okay, but I didn't want it to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes or like a serious image, because I'm just not a very serious person. I wanted it to look kind of goofy, but I also wanted to get it because it was like a timestamp of a time where I've, like I said, just felt very comfortable and happy, because I know that it's not always going to be like that, and it's important to, I don't know, remember times where things were good when it's not so good. That said, I've felt a little bit anxious the last week or two. I don't really know why. It might be just a bit of nervousness for the release. I don't know, I'm still trying to crack that one, but it feels like a short kind of bout of anxiety. But generally speaking, in the last last couple months, I felt really good, really, really myself, which is so nice. So I hope you guys feel the same. Thank you, Sophie, for such a nice question. And what are we on? 14 minutes? 14 minutes! I've done about 2 questions. Jesus, Orla. Okay, John. See, this is the thing. John, it's 75 comments, but everyone's asking 2 or 3 questions, so give me a break. John, for your upcoming gigs, was it hard picking the set list? I'm still picking the set list. It's not hard, it's just more about, it's important to me to find a balance of new and old that keeps everyone happy. I don't want to just show up and not play old songs. Like, that's just not the right thing to do. But I want to look to the future in a normal way and give, show people what's to come. So that's the only, it's not been hard so far. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be quite a long set, actually. But it's finding that balance that's very important to me. Is there any instrument or music style you'd still like to learn how to play? Yeah, you say something about a drummer. Yeah, I would love to play the drums. I think thinking in rhythm is such a different thing than thinking in chords and melodies. So I think it would maybe not necessarily make me a better writer, but certainly make me a better producer. Yeah, I just love drums. I think well played, creatively thought through drums are just such a beautiful thing. So yeah, I'd love to play drums. What else? I'd love to be savvy at piano. I'd love to. It's kind of why I got this new one recently. Because I wanted a nice weighted keyboard because I keep writing piano songs. So yes, drums and piano for sure. Yeah, maybe strings. I'd love to play the cello someday. I love it so much. I played the violin when I was much younger. But is there anything about songwriting or the music industry that you find yourself disagreeing with most of your musician peers about? Wow, what a good question. As of late, there's been a conversation that keeps coming up again and again with me and my friends, but also I think just the music industry in general, and that's about the place of record labels in 2018. And I'm usually on the side of alternative ways of doing things that aren't just signing to Universal or Sony or Warner. But I do have a lot of friends that still think that if you want to make it, that you have to be with one of these great powers, not just for the money, but for the influence, for the connections. And I disagree. I think it all comes down to what you want. Fair enough, if you want to be a super, super mainstream artist, you want to be on the radio, you want to make music videos that cost 80 grand and all this stuff, then yeah, it's much easier to have someone else bankrolling it. Fair enough. But I don't think that's the only way to do it at all. And I've seen examples of people that I follow, people that are closer to home, where they've done it in a different way. They put their whole album on Spotify, and then the Spotify income, because they own their own masters, has been enough to pay for the next album, and it just becomes this self-sufficient thing. Maybe a little bit of investment from somewhere, a little grant or a little advance or an indie label, but it comes down to what you want. But that's something that I find that we have a lot of heated discussions about, is that I'm just so on the side of things like Patreon, things like just different ways of doing it, whereas I know a lot of peers are just still value the old way of doing things a bit more. Jamie's asked the second question, guys. 3 all-time favourite songs. Running Up That Hill, Kate Bush. Anything from that Joni Mitchell album that I've got stuck on my window. Probably A Case of You. And 3, maybe some Fleetwood Mac. No, Stevie Nicks, Edge of 17. They're all girls. Wow, that's weird. Remy, okay, what are your pros and cons of writing music? Pros and cons. So does that mean the good and the bad thing about just the process of writing? Okay, I'm not sure I'm interpreting this right, but the pros of writing music. You are extremely self-aware as a person. Usually, if you write songs about your own experiences, I think you become more self-aware. I think that's also a con. Pros. Yeah, I mean, it's the same, along the same lines, but in theory, if you're exploring and expressing your emotions, you're hopefully more in touch with them, and you hopefully can understand your head a bit better. It's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Cons. Another con of writing music or just being a songwriter is it's very hard to just switch off and listen to music in a normal way. I'm friends with a lot of songwriters, and like we cannot listen to a song on the radio without being like, God, I wish the chorus had gone to this chord. So it's a little bit exhausting sometimes. Sometimes you just can't switch it off. What do you do when you can't think of what to add to your song? God, I usually park it if I can. If I'm not writing with someone else and I'm not tied to finishing it that day, I just come back to it. Because if you start adding things for the sake of it, production-wise, writing-wise, it's never a good thing. One silly question. If you were a drink, what kind of drink would you be and why? I'd like to think I'd be like a Lipton peach iced tea. It's kind of fun. It's kind of sweet. It's not crazy drink. It's not a fizzy drink. It's just a nice juice. Yep. Oh my god, we're on 20 minutes. Right, let's do 3 more questions and then I'll cut this off and make a second video because I can't expect you guys to watch an hour of me doing this. How do you get into recording songs professionally for an EP, for example? That's a great question. I don't obviously record my own released songs. I don't think as a producer that I am there yet. I could certainly pull together like a great acoustic version of a song, but my production when it comes to incorporating a variety of instruments, I don't think is up to scratch just yet, but I would like to think it would be someday. So I guess what you mean is how do you record with producers, other people? A lot of it is about finding the producers, I guess. I was introduced to the first few producers that I worked with that did my EPs. They were introduced to me by the guy who was managing me at the time, who I mentioned earlier. He was a producer himself, so he was kind of naturally in a community. He actually had way more kind of connections in that world than he did in the music industry kind of business side of it. But a lot of the time you can just do a little bit of light research, look at artists that you like, find out through Wikipedia or their own posts or just resources online who has recorded those things, and you can reach out to the producer, you can reach out to the producer's manager, ask around if you have any friends at all that demo or record music or have like little bedroom setups. Just start there. Most kind of high profile, super professional, like full-time producers won't really take anyone too seriously unless they've already done the home demo thing, if that makes sense. So don't have nothing but voice memos and then try and contact a producer of your all-time favourite song, because the chances are they'll say, oh, well, have you got any music for me to listen to? And you'll say, no. So see it all as a stepping stone. Invest in maybe like a small, cheap home setup. Do a little bit of research on how you can record good guitar and vocal demos or good piano and vocal demos, because that is totally doable. And then build it up. Like I said, start asking around to friends. Maybe you have people that you know, friends of friends, that do production. They can add a few things to what you've already done, or you can go and work with them, and then eventually you can work yourself up to kind of producers that cost a lot of money. That's the other thing as well. It's good to have some time before you reach that stage, I think. Okay, would you consider re-recording your old songs again now that your musical style and skills have evolved? Yeah, definitely. I'd love to. There's a couple of old ones that I still think have legs. And yeah, it's a weird one. Reworking really old things sometimes feels like a little bit wrong. Like sometimes I think things should just be left as they are. But there's a few that I think I would definitely. I'd be well up for that. Are you a reader, and if so, what are your favourite books? And if not, why? I absolutely am, though I wish I did read a bit more. I am currently between this book, John Green, Germany Enjoying, and also this book, which is called Jon Ronson, So You've Been Publicly Shamed. I'm not that good a reader, guys. I've been reading these 2 books for longer than I'd like to admit. I'm also in a book club, so I'm kind of like just a bit of a sporadic reader at the moment. It's not very good. However, those 2 are really good, and the Publicly Shamed one is really good. It's a it's a guy who goes around interviewing people who have been publicly shamed, as the title might suggest, and it's really, really interesting. yeah, I really like books like that alongside fiction, I must say. Okay, this is getting ridiculously long, so I'm going to stop this now and just start a new one. Don't hate me, but I will upload these all on consecutive days. So thank you for your questions, and I'm about to answer some more. Lots of love.